Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8:01 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Josie Mendoza Geller, good morning to you. It is Wednesday the 29th, right? It is 29th, right? Of March. A brand new month is coming up. It's going to be April before you guys know it. Outside today, it's a beautiful day. The birds are chirping. I can still hear them through my headphones, which lets you know the power of the bird. Right there. It gets through these thick headphones and my thick skull. Anyway, we've got a great show and a great guest for you guys today. Our guest today is 5th Ward Alderman Franco, returning to the show. He's been here before, but now he is back. How are you, sir?
I'm good today. Thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Brett, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay. Hit him up. Gabriel, hit him up. Turn him on. Thank you. How are you, Brett?
I'm good.
That's better. Now we can hear that beautiful, beautiful voice. Okay. So the last time we talked, Alderman Franco, was over a year ago, and that's when the show was on a different at a different place. We were at Gremlin Studios back then. So things have changed, but we're glad that you came back on today. How's the week been so far?
Hectic. You know, with the campaign going on, there's a lot of walking to do.
Okay.
You know, there's 6,000 homes in Aurora, so we try to cover as many as we can. And, you know, when you go door to door, I mean, you need to go door to door to talk to people to, you know, get their attention and talk about their concerns. So between that and city council, it's been pretty busy.
It is a lot.
You know, when you go door to door talking to people, all of a sudden it says, oh, by the way, I have this for you to do. So
Right.
the workload increases.
Oh, my Alderman, glad to see you. Just
Right.
who I needed to talk to.
Yes, exactly. So I take a lot of notes, and it's just, you know, it just piles up a little bit. So this is what happens every campaign
Okay.
season. Yeah.
Come a little bit close. Yeah,
Okay.
there you
All
go.
right.
Yeah, eat it. You
I'm
know,
there.
not figuratively.
Tastes good.
Okay, so we're going to talk today about the campaign and everything
Sure.
going on. When's the election? April
4th.
April 4th. Okay.
6 days.
6 days, and early voting is still going on at various places.
Yes, that'll go on through Monday.
Okay. Where can folks early vote at?
Well, the big place where they're voting is the Vaughan Athletic Center.
Okay.
Which is very convenient because a lot of people utilize it anyway.
Right.
And then the clerk's office downtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
5 East Downer Place, Suite A. I believe it's Suite A. I believe
be,
it's Suite
yeah.
A. Yep. Right by the GAR.
Yep.
So what are the current boundaries of the 5th Ward, and what were the changes because of redistricting?
So prior to the redistricting, basically, there's always, you know, some outliers. Pretty much Prairie to the south.
Okay.
88 to the north, Randall to the east, and Sugar Grove to the west. Now, the Lindens, the subdivision that's further south than Prairie, a couple little spots north of 88.
Okay.
And then, but by the AU area, what has changed, because AU in and of itself, that complex was 4th Ward.
Oh.
But around there to the west and to the north was 5th Ward. Because they didn't want to split up the actual complex there, so they just made it all one ward, which is the 4th. However, with the redistricting, I lost west to Western, and I lost north to Kensington. So there's like two blocks north and 3 blocks to the west that are now in the 4th Ward. So that changed because of redistricting, because what had happened when it transpired on the east side, there was so much movement. They had, you know, to equalize. Once they were wrong and decided we lost 17,000 people, which we didn't, then there was a lot of movement on the east side. Some of it filtered to the 4th Ward, which lost some, so they had to pick some up. I had enough in my ward based on the new census that I could lose a few hundred people and still make everything pretty even.
Right. And for the record, too, so we did not lose those 17,000. It was just underrepresentation, or they just did not?
Well, we could speculate. We just figured that people just didn't fill out their forms
Sure.
and do their duty. I would have been shocked if we didn't gain 17,000. So there's no way we lost. That would be losing a whole ward. We didn't lose a whole ward.
Right.
So I just think we're going to win that battle. We hired attorneys to fight the census with us. Problem with that, though, is that we lose money per person that we don't have.
Right.
So it comes out to about $3 million a year we're out right now. So we're not going to get that back. So if it took 3 years, we would lose $9 million. Over 10 years, it'd be $30 million. So we just really can't afford to do this. So we're going to fight it. We're going to win. And then we'll go forward from there.
Yeah, and in the history of this show, we've always told folks, fill out the census.
Yes.
Do your part. It is extremely important. And shout out to all the people who are out there trying to get that word out to folks in both English and Spanish. So when you knock on doors, what are the things you hear about from ward residents?
Are you talking about the campaign or are you talking about concerns? Because I hear a lot of different things.
Campaign at the moment.
So I get a lot of good feedback. I have a lot of people that say, thank you for keeping us informed. We love your newsletter. We love your cleanup day. We love your meetings. So I hear a lot of good stuff about that. If you go to the concern part, which is always something, speeding seems like it's always the big problem.
Right.
It's everywhere. We don't really have a fix for it. There's things we can do to mitigate, targeted patrols, put up the speed indicator things. We really don't do speed bumps. So that's a big one. And then I also hear, too, that from the west side, from the Fifth Ward, is that they would like more high-end things. I did a survey about 5 years ago with Invest Aurora, and basically it was nicer restaurants, nicer grocery stores, a lot of upscale stuff. So we're still working on that. It's kind of surprising that we haven't got more in there yet because, when you look at it, we have disposable income on the west side.
Right.
And we have Orchard Road, which provides a lot of traffic, which is something that developers look at. But what we don't have a lot of, surprisingly, is density, number of consumers. We have a lot of open space on the Fifth Ward. We have the ponds, the prairie areas, Orchard Valley, Blackberry, parks and stuff, which is great.
Right.
But we have spots that still need to be developed, and I'm hoping we're going to get some more homes in there because that will bring more businesses in because they spend more money, the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
With the high-end stuff, though, folks would like to see it in the wards, but they do appreciate it's coming up in the city. They still appreciate the value of the city that has it.
Yes. So when we talk about the city as a whole, they are delighted with what's happening downtown and other places. They're delighted about the outlet mall, delighted about the improvements downtown, the restaurants, and the growth down there. And they actually do like what's happening on the west side, but you just want a little bit more. So, instead of having, more Dollar Trees, they would like a higher end retail.
Right.
They would like Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or a white linen restaurant. Those are the kind of things those are missing pieces of the puzzle.
Sure.
Because we have a lot of other stuff. But those are the things they're just still looking for.
You guys got syrup over there.
We got syrup
that was
over
a
there.
new one.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a lot of good stuff over there.
Yeah.
Right? But, we just, that fine dining, that one fine dining place or that one upscale grocery store. It's things like that.
Yeah.
Because I remember what we used to have McDonald's, the old McDonald's, kind of run down.
Right.
The Jewel before it had facelift kind of run down. Even the Walmart before it left kind of run down. So why are there nice Walmarts somewhere? Why are there nice McDonald's? Why are there nice Jewels? So we've done 2 of them have been taken care of. The Walmart's gone, but the point was we never really had the upscale stuff until recently of those. But even we can go further than that, though.
Right. So scratch me up. Let's try that again. What are the security concerns within the Fifth Ward?
I really don't think there's a lot of security concerns. I think when I have my neighborhood meetings and the community police officers come, they're saying, well, they'll talk to the neighborhood about what's happening and say, well, we don't have a whole lot here. What they do talk about is teenagers checking car doors when they're parked in the street, see if they're unlocked, which could happen in any neighborhood. But overall, crime is really not much of a factor there. I mean, it's pretty secure, but obviously you have to be diligent to keep it secure. And we do have a number of police patrols. We actually have more at West Plaza now, just circling around based on the resources. But I really don't think there's one element of crime or security that's a problem for the Fifth Ward at all.
Hasn't seemed like it.
No,
Hasn't seemed like the Fifth Ward was highest in auto thefts and that kind of stuff. No.
I mean, you're going to have teenagers pulling pranks and doing stuff like that no matter where you go. But I think overall it's doing pretty good security-wise.
So in regards to seniors, and, I work with and talk with many seniors. A lot of them reside on the west side or close to the former Walmart, and they express, concerns since it left. It was close for them to do many things and be an easy access for them. So what are the current plans for that space and what's the feedback from residents about that particular space? Just because it's big and it was a really well-known feature.
Yeah, so I do get questions about that all the time. Not necessarily in an aspect of seniors, but overall what's going in there.
Sure.
But so let's talk about the seniors. So yes, it would have been nice if it stayed there for the seniors. I do know that stone's throw away from there is the Aldi's, is the Walgreens for certain things. I got to cross one more street, but it's not that far away. What we're doing with the seniors now, and I'll get into the Walmart back in a second. We have a senior and division for people with disabilities. So the senior portion is looking to provide more rides, because people can't get the transportation they need. The county or the township can't keep up with that. So we're going to start providing more rides for them. So if they need to go places, hopefully this will be to fill that void for the seniors to get from point A to point B wherever they want to go. With regards to the Walmart, a company from California bought it a little over a year ago. So they own it. We've kind of had some negotiations, some talks, some preliminary, but in the past, what they wanted to do with the Walmart, people that owned it before, they wanted to make indoor storage, which in and of itself is not terrible, but can we do better?
Right.
And big boxes, as we know, with filling the old Cosmopolitan with Factor and Lindsay Windows and the old Cub Food, it's very difficult. And this is no different. This is very difficult to do. So we're going to have discussions with them about what they would want to put in there and what we feel is best for the community. So that's kind of why it hasn't gone anywhere, which in itself is good, because we just don't want to settle.
Sure.
You look at a piece of property and say, okay, has it been empty for a year or two? Let's hold out. If it's been empty 20 years, okay, let's kind of get what we can right now, because it's better to have something in there. So we're still looking at that. But I would like to have something that they can walk in and buy, some kind of retail. But as we know, nationwide, retail isn't really doing that well right now.
It's not.
It's the online sales are killing. So it's going to be a tough one, but I think we've done a good job repurposing other big boxes. You just have to get creative.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to the next question. But just real quick in a nutshell, what is it like? What's the discussion like with the owners and yourself as the alderman? Not detailing things, but is it a difficult discussion? Is it a tough discussion? Like, what kind of things should the public know or think about when that is happening? When you see something open and you think, why can't they just?
Well, I mean, you have two opposing forces here. You have one force trying to make money and the other force trying to do what's best for the community. Sometimes they align. Sometimes they don't. So indoor storage, I don't know that's a big need, but it's a good business for them because it's low overhead. They're going to make a lot of money. So they're going to push that until we say no, or what we were talking about earlier with Walmart, you could do some indoor storage there, but we want other things. So there's that negotiating. Okay, we can live with this, but if you offer this, then the whole complex is going to be worthwhile, as opposed to just saying, pigeonholing it just to one entity, it's okay.
Right.
So that's how that goes. Can you do this in addition to this? And we always look at what's good for the community. So as you mentioned, on the west side, we do have a lot of seniors, whether they're Constitution House or LSSI, just seniors in the neighborhood. So we always take that into consideration, what that neighborhood looks like, to maybe see what's in there. But of course, you have to look for the future too. If you have a lot of seniors there, you may not have a lot of seniors, because behind those seniors will become young families to move in. And so what is the future hold for them? So there's a lot of moving parts in those decisions, how to project the future. But we do take in consideration what the community could use, and then we go forward from there.
Okay. The time is now 8:14 a.m. Good morning, everybody. Etta Cochran, good morning. Michael Rayford, good morning. Norma Peterson, good morning to you all. It's a beautiful day outside, and in here too. Let's talk about HelloFresh. Two things about HelloFresh. People say that there's no response, and then there's no follow-up or resolution. So let's. What does response look like?
So I will tell you what's happened for the first year and a half after they've been there. There was a resident that had contacted me a number of times about concerns, which we did address. I mean, the vibrations, it was a vibration thing for the house. So I've had probably 10 to 12 meetings with HelloFresh about that. I would actually go over there a few times when she would call, say it's vibrating, go over there, hey, can you knock it off in the back, the whole thing. So what they had done, this is prior to like last fall.
Right.
They had put out a guard shack back there. They put out signage, no idling. They started building on the west side. They actually put, and it didn't really work, but it was like a blanket over the fence as a sound barrier. So they were addressing concerns as much as they could. We had engineers go out there from the city to check the water lines the vibration in the pipes to see if there was any problems there, which they didn't find. And actually, I got a lot of correspondence from the resident about, thank you for doing this, thank you for doing that. So it fascinates me that people say we haven't done anything, but yet all these things were done, physically done, and with meetings and stuff like that. So we had addressed it quite a bit. Could you make the argument that it didn't work or wasn't enough? Yeah, I guess you could make that, but we have been addressing that. So then recently, when it came to our attention that there was more concerns, because like I said, until last fall, I only heard one person call. But you address it when one person calls. But then the neighborhood started to get more involved, and we brought these concerns, which was smell, which was vibration, which was lighting, and things like that, to HelloFresh's attention. They said, yes, we'll take care of all that. It's not a problem. So they've been really good. There's nothing that we brought to their attention that they haven't wanted to address or were willing to. So we 45-day period from the last time we had talked with them, and they came to a meeting that they're going to tell us where they're at and updates, which is ending, I think, the end of this week. So at COW next week, they'll talk about it.
COW is Committee of the Whole.
Yeah, Committee of the Whole. So I would say that, what do we need to do? And they're going to be good neighbors. It's just a matter of making them aware.
Right.
And I've really not had a problem with that. So of course we'll do that. So right now what they're going to do, they're cleaning their exhaust more. They're buying a scrubber, which actually mitigates almost all that stuff that comes out. They're looking at the lighting, and lighting should really not be an issue because you can get lights that shine down.
Right.
And they're actually going to build a sound barrier. No more blanket over the fence. They're actually going to take the fence down, put a sound barrier down there. So everything that we've talked about, they got a plan for. And then the plan will be discussed more next week. But they've been real good about that.
Right.
I just think that people need to know that there were things being done. I just think that sometimes when you get in the political environment, you just don't want to talk about certain things that had been done. But we're working on it. We understand the concerns, and we're going to take care of it. HelloFresh has basically complied with all zoning and stuff, but they're going the extra mile, as most companies that we deal with do. We say the neighbors are upset about this. Okay, how we fix it, and we do it. So
the resolution is ongoing.
The resolution is ongoing. I mean, they've actually ordered the equipment. They've actually started building. And like I said, they had put in a guard shack prior to all this. They had their guards walking around and signage and the whole thing. So they were doing stuff, and now it's more.
And that's an important thing for us to be talking about, because I think a lot of folks, if they've not worked with an alderman before or anybody before to get something changed, like, resolution doesn't happen overnight. Things don't really happen that quickly.
Right.
So it takes a little while. I'm sorry.
It does. And I just, when a person has a concern, we address the concern. But do we do more or look into it more in depth when a neighborhood has it? Well, yeah, of course you do. Because one person may be wrong, and we, the one person that called me, we found times where what she said was misrepresented. Mm-hmm. So there's that. But when the neighborhood gets involved more, say, okay, is this more global than we had thought? And then it came to our attention that maybe it is. So let's tackle it. We don't walk away from anything like that. We just don't say, well, too bad, you got to live it. That doesn't happen. And I think that's what's being portrayed, but that's not the case at all.
Right.
We go out there, we want to enhance everybody's life as much as we can, but we have to know what the issues are so we can surgically deal with them.
Absolutely. The time is 8:16 a.m. Gabriel Bradford, do me a favor. Take me to a commercial, please. If you are just tuning in, we are happy to be joined by 5th Ward Alderman Carl Franco once again for his second time on the show. How's the coffee? How's the coffee taste?
Coffee's good. I like my coffee black. I drink coffee more medicinally than anything else.
Kind of same, yeah.
It's just it's my spark to get me going.
It's like I'm already up. I'm just drinking it for the taste. Got a couple of pieces of news for you guys. This is very important. I told you about it a little bit ago, but it's actually going on until September 30th. The Grand Army of the Republic Military Museum still has Hidden Warriors, the history of women in the United States military going on, showcasing the role of women in the U.S. military from the American Revolution to the present day. It goes until September 30th, open to the public. Admission is free. Donations are very much welcome and appreciated. The Grand Army of the Republic Military Museum is located at 23 East Downer Place in Aurora, open from noon to 4 p.m. Wednesday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays. For more information, you can call 630-256-3348. The number again is 630-256-3348. Our friend Eric Pry is the curator. Good morning to you, Eric. Next, I got to tell you about Purple Rain. Now, scratch it up. These tickets are already halfway sold out. So I'm telling you now, if you don't get tickets to this, you're not going to be doing anything fun this year. Well, we still got a lot going on in the city, so I'm just trying to big it up. With songs like When Doves Cry, Little Red Corvette, and Purple Rain, this concert proves Prince was in a class all his own. Friday, August 11th, 8 p.m. Remember, Purple Rain is the world's #1 Prince tribute band. No small accolade. Next is the Happy Together tour. That will be, the date is TBD. Actually, hang on a second. No, there it is. Sunday, August 13th at 7 p.m. The biggest and best music of the 60s and 70s, and it sells out every single year. The Turtles, Little Anthony, the Cowsills, the Vogues are just some of the great bands that'll be playing, so get ready for that. I want to see all of you guys out there hanging out River Edge Park, taking selfies. Hey, Curtis, it's me and the hubby. We're having a good time. We'll post that on our Facebook page. Brett, I want you to give us the Green Fest news, if you would do so, please, young man. Thank you.
Of course, Aurora Green Fest will return to Frisco Community Center this spring after a 3-year hiatus due to the pandemic. The festival welcomes everyone to learn about being green from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, May 13th. Aurora Green Fest is a free and accessible event and will be open to all ages with family-friendly events and performances. Bates and a committed team of volunteers are part of Aurora Green Lights, a local group affiliated with the Conservation Foundation, which is dedicated to continuing the environmental festival.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Brett. Brett is our mentee of the Triumph Mentoring Program at Obanzi Community College. We appreciate him, and Yasmin Montenegro. All right. Time's 8:22. One of our listeners mentioned sidewalks, transportation. We need sidewalk at Randall Road from Galena to Indian Trail. Kids in the area walking to West Aurora High School. It's not safe. Is this something that was already known? Is there any other traffic-related issues for ward residents?
So, yes, that was an issue. Actually, we're in for a federal grant to put sidewalks in that exact area. I don't know if it's going to go all the way to Indian Trail, but I know it'll go to Plum, which is where the corner of West High is.
Yes.
So, and what we did on the south side of Galena, from Galena on Randall, from Galena to Freeman School, we had a federal grant to put sidewalks in there. So, yeah, I mean, that's always a concern with people walking. I had put in sidewalks myself around Freeman School because if you've ever been around a grade school or middle school, a drop off and pick up, it's out of control.
It is.
It's dangerous. So I my kids have gone there too. So I saw some spots where just to get away from the madding crowd, just to get them on the outskirts a little bit. So I put sidewalks on Kensington a little bit, and I finished off someone on Glenwood so they can at least get away from that traffic. Okay. And then I did in front of Village Bible Churches, was right by West High, put a sidewalks there to finish that off, and then I connected another spot down the street. So we're very cognizant of that. We like when people tell us that this is a problem, because if there's no kids living in an area and we're putting in sidewalks for kids to walk to school, then what do we, so we need to have people let us know that this is a problem going forward. And then sidewalks in and of themselves, I don't want to get into the sidewalk debate, but there's a lot of people on the west side of Aurora that don't have sidewalks, and they don't want sidewalks. Now, for safety issues, we can mandate that, but I wouldn't want to impose that unless we really determined that was a safety issue. Because if you bought your house because you didn't have sidewalks, and then we force you to put one in, that's a problem. That's a slippery slope. Yep. So we have to balance all that.
Now I'm very interested in you bringing that up because I know a family who does not have a sidewalk, and they don't want one. No, thank you.
Right.
And everybody on that street seems to have that same consensus. Yeah. They none of them, they're happy with there not being sidewalks. So there's a difference there.
It is. And the other thing is too, over the years, and I think this was appropriate, if a block wanted a sidewalk, you had to get a petition. And if 80% of them wanted it, we put it in, and it was an SSA. They paid through it over years in an SSA on their taxes. Well, if they did that, how do we go and tell people, I'm going to put a sidewalk in for you? They had to pay for theirs, but you're not paying for yours. That equity thing does not work.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah, so there's that historical perspective. So it's more complicated than one would think, just because of all the viewpoints on that. And then if somebody puts a sidewalk, I live on a street where I have a sidewalk, my neighbor does, people around them don't. It is what it is, because I bought the house like that. But so, do you want sporadic sidewalks? I think you'd want a whole block with a sidewalk, because you don't want a kid driving his bike on the sidewalk, pulling to the street, avoiding where there's none, and come back in. That doesn't make any sense. So there's a lot more moving parts to that than one would think.
What does it take to be an effective alderman, and what does the average citizen not understand about the job?
Well, I think an effective alderman would be understanding the desires and concerns of the constituents. I mean, you got to really know your people, because, somebody could tell me that my neighbor's bad, we need to do something about him, or, his trees need to be trimmed and stuff like that. But when you are taking votes, I take dozens of votes every week. I can't referendum. I can't call on every single thing we do. So having a feel for that is very important. So knowing what my community would want me to do generically, I guess, is very important. And I think what they don't understand about being an alderman is the variety of things we deal with. It's amazing. I mean, it's just, people have talked to me about national stuff. They've talked to me about school stuff. They talk to me about state stuff. They don't understand that we're not the concierge for all that. So I think there's that. And then I think they don't understand that we have some discretion, and I guess you would call it a little power. But when you ask me to do something, and it violates a rule, an ethics thing, an ordinance, I really can't help you. But they think you can. They think there's more power there. We have the power to vote, but it's not as though I can, make a phone call and everything's going to be perfect.
Right.
It just depends on the issue. So I think there's an expectation we can do anything, but I don't think they realize, because the engineering department deals with engineering, law deals with law, property standards, et cetera, et cetera. I got to know a little bit about all of them.
Right.
So it's the big picture, it's the global picture. So I don't think that's kind of tough, a little bit, because you can't be an expert on all of it. But there's expectations too. But you muddle through it. You do your research and you contact the right people. So I think those are misconceptions about being an alderman.
What is something that you didn't know when you started as an alderman, but you found out, like, wow, you had no idea. You didn't know that was a red light,
Well, what surprised me is because, and I got to have a shout out to my previous alderman, Whitey Peters, just passed away. He just passed away. That's right. It was a sad moment. So he was my alderman for 12 years. I never called him. I had never ever had any concerns or complaints. I thought I was the norm. So what I found out is that's not the norm. So the surprising thing was how many concerns there really are. Now, a lot of them are valid. A lot of them are like, yeah, not so much. It's just.
A want, not a need, perhaps.
Want, not a need. And what I found was very interesting, and I love doing this because I love talking to people who are sincere. I get a lot of seniors, especially older women, they'll call me up, and they'll talk to me for a half an hour about something, and I say nothing. And at the end of the half hour, I said, thank you, Alderman, for fixing my problem. I'm like, all right. So they just needed something to listen to. So that was kind of surprising, but it's refreshing because they're sincere. They really want to talk about something, and you made their life better for whatever reason. So that's something I was not aware that was going to happen, but it has. But that's a good thing.
That's good.
It's like your mom talking to you, and she just wants to talk and get something off her chest. That's fine, and that's what we do, and make them happy, and
Absolutely.
It makes you feel good about stuff.
There's a lot of people who aren't being listened to, and if you just give folks a chance to let what they're talking about come out, man, you will be surprised.
Yep.
Like my dad used to tell me, man, if you listen more than you talk.
Right.
Here's the thing. Time is 8:28 a.m. Brent Jimenez, good morning to you. His name is BTP. That's his moniker. Hi, Norma Peterson. It's been said that you vote lockstep with the city council and the mayor, no matter what it is. If we're going to go left, you're just going to vote for that no matter what. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say that's wrong. It's an easy one. So, when we get things come in front of us, there's some layups. Should we buy more salt for the streets? Of course we should. Should we buy, when public safety equipment breaks down, should we do that? Things that make the city run, that's easy stuff.
Right.
If you look at something that might not be it may be more controversial or more in-depth look at it, a development. So I would say that we have a tremendous process of vetting. So I'm just going to go through that real quick. And so everybody understands why it is. So if somebody wants to come in, they want to build something on a piece of land, bring a business in, whatever. The first step will be they probably go to our economic development department, who will vet them to say, are these people legit? Is this something the city needs, wants? Just go through the preliminary stuff because if we're going to move it on, we don't want to move something that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So vetting number one. Vetting number 2 goes to what's called a DST, which is Developmental Service Team. That would be the engineers, property standards people, fire marshals and stuff, to take a look at what they were planning to do, what they want to do, give them feedback so they can go back and change plans and drawings. This is what you need. Can you get the money for this? And that will actually take a month or two to do, go back and forth, unless it's just perfect right off the get-go, which very rarely there are. So that's a very in-depth vetting number 2. Then if it gets past that, it goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission, who have public hearings, and they have criteria that they have to go to if they approve it and move it on to City Council. So that's another step. Then it actually gets into the City Council process, where it's something like a development, probably go to BZE, Building, Zoning, Economic Development, and then we would hash it out, and we would vet it there too, and how's it look, and what's it going to provide. And then it goes to Committee of the Whole, which is all the aldermen to vet it. So by the time it gets to City Council for voting, it's going through a number of vetting steps to get there. So when you see us voting a lot, because the fact that it got there is probably pretty darn good to go forward. So, but what you didn't hear me mention in all that was the mayor. See, this is where I think people are, somebody comes with development, it's not the mayor's development, it's they want to do business here. So obviously the mayor could be an advocate for certain projects, but these are not the mayor's issues. These are issues that our staff brings to us because somebody wants to do that or change something that's better for the city. The mayor could be for it or against it, but it's just not his issue. So voting lockstep with the mayor, I don't even know what that means, because it's not, the mayor doesn't bring all these projects to us. So I think that's the misconception that goes out there. And if you're going to vet things like we do, in addition to those ones that are easy, you're going to see a lot of voting yes, because otherwise it wouldn't have got to us. We're not bringing something to the City Council that we're going to vote no for sure. So why even go there? Why even waste our time? So I think that's why you see a lot of that, because of the process, and process works very good.
Also, I do want to, probe a little bit. You're probably also thinking about the constituents too. I mean, some of the things that have been voted on, like the seniors division. I mean, why wouldn't you vote for that? Right? Like, why wouldn't you vote for something that, like, who do you want your alderman not voting for Operation Senior Shovel?
Right.
I mean,
right. Well, so there, and that's a lot of that. I mean, really, when you think about it, our intentions are always to do what's best for the residents, the city as a whole. That's our intentions. So if that's your fundamental way of thinking, you're going to make a lot of good decisions and a lot of correct decisions. I mean, there's such a variety of things that we talk about, but I think at the end of the day, because we have a good staff, when they present stuff to us, they've done a really good job. Mm-hmm. I mean, we really do have a lot of good people that work for the city of Aurora. So I think that's part of why things slide through so easy, because they make it easy. They've done their job. And when it gets to us, it's like, yeah, it's almost like, why wouldn't you? It's not will we? Why wouldn't you do it? Because it brings so much to the table, so much benefit to the table. So that's how I look at things a lot.
Right. No, we on this show, we consistently watch and see what's going on. That's part of the news, right, boys, that we do every single day. Like, hey, the city council is voting to update folks and let them know what's going on. And when I look at the votes, I think, hey, this is thing A, that the city, I look at it as a city thing. Mayors come and go. The city is what stays.
Well, thank you for that, because it's the one constant. Is it could have been Mayor Wisner, the mayors before him. A good idea is a good idea regardless of who the mayor or the city council is. Right. It really is. And I think people need to know that it's a team effort, but we don't vote for things that aren't going to be good. We just don't. Now, beauty's in the eye of the beholder at times.
Sure.
I remember, for example, when out by me, when I first became alderman, there was open land on Orchard and Galena on the southwest side, open land. Nobody wanted anything there. So assisted living wanted to come in. So I contacted the people that wanted to bring it in from Missouri. They came in, had meetings. We vetted this thing thoroughly, and they had some concerns because there was flooding. It was Cherry Hill. Mm-hmm. Cherry Hill had the flooding really bad in the 90s, and our engineers came out there and did some studies and said, it's actually going to be better because we're going to build these retention ponds. We can control the water flow. So we do a lot of homework before that goes in. We have a lot of extra meetings. I didn't mention that in the process, but most aldermen, when a development's coming in, we'll have meetings with their constituents about that. Like I did there, like I did with the Muse at Orchard Lake, which is behind the Aldi. I had a meeting and said, okay, here's what we want to do. What are your thoughts? So that's an extra way of vetting. But we really go through this. So at the end of the day, if they say we want less traffic, we want a berm, we want less lights, we want this or that, we take the consideration and tell the developer, okay, if you're going to do this, you need to make these considerations happen, because otherwise it's not going to be good for our constituents. So we do a lot of that.
Awesome. Time is 8:35 a.m. Gabriel, take us to a commercial, please. Brett, give us First Friday, that stuff. Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Out in Market Aurora brings more than a dozen local makers for one-of-a-kind indoor market for 2 spring dates. Visit the curated market from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Society 57-100 South River Street on Saturday, March 25th and Saturday, April 22nd. Shop market vendors and local artisans. Free to enter. Aurora Downtown on Facebook. AuroraDowntown.org.
You can hear him turning the news, ladies and gentlemen. That's how official it is. That's how authentic.
Yeah. I'm like, you just got to give me a newspaper next time. Make it even more official. And then the Food Truck Festival. More than 24 food trucks on Benton Street at Aurora Downtown's Food Truck Festival on May 5th. The group's most popular event from 5 to 9 p.m. to May's first Friday activities. Visit a variety of local and regional food trucks to and explore downtown venues open with art, music, and more. Free. Aurora Downtown on Facebook. AuroraDowntown.org.
Thank you very much for that, Brett. Gabriel, do that thing that we know and love as... Oh... See, you got it. You got the prompt. Gabriel, I could hug you right now, but we would mess up the mics. Okay, brand new news from our dear friends of the Air Classics Museum. Now, the Air Classics Museum is a fantastic place. Great guys, fantastic volunteers, some of which are veterans. They give us news all the time, and we're happy to share it. The Air Classics Museum of Aviation in Sugar Grove will open its doors for the season this Saturday. The museum is located 1 mile west of the Aurora Airport. The museum's open Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Admission for adults 16 to 61 is $10. Seniors 62 and up is $7, and children 5 to 15 are $5. Children under 5 are free when accompanied by a parent. Group tours are available Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They have great indoor displays of aviation and memorabilia from the 1930s to the present, including uniforms, engines, and a full-size mock-up of an Airbus A320 cockpit, P-47 Thunderbolt, UH-1 Huey helicopter, T-39 Saberliner are just some of the fantastic planes that they have there. The museum honors Blue Star families, the Museum Adventure Pass program, Harvest hosts, and the Kane DuPage Regional Association Passport program. Whew. Okay. Time's 8:38. You were an air traffic controller.
I was.
For a minute. That's your background.
Yes.
Yeah. What was it? Man.
I loved it. So I was there for 32 years at the center in Aurora, and I think people don't understand that's like the busiest facility in the country because it's a Midwest facility. Even though it's in Aurora, it's called Chicago Center. There's 300 controllers in that building. So it's a big facility. And the second half of my career, I was a traffic management specialist, which I really like because I had the big picture. I had to set up O'Hare every day and midway arrivals and departures. I had to flow traffic into the East Coast because it's a bottleneck out there. And when thunderstorms came, I had to find routes around. It was messy, but it was challenging every day. I really enjoyed that. I'd like to be on the front lines when things are happening. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I remember finding that out in our very first interview. I was like, wow, that was amazing. Yeah. What's the biggest impact COVID has had on what you do as an alderman?
Well, I think for COVID, I have the neighborhood groups and we had the meetings. It was going very well. We established them. But when COVID hit, we lost momentum,
right?
Because we shut it down for a while. Did a couple Zoom meetings from City Hall, but when you lose that momentum, it's hard to get it back. So I'm trying to get it back now. We resuscitated the meetings again last spring. So they're kind of getting going again, but that hurt a little bit because when people got into a rhythm of going, so there was that. But I did learn that Zoom is good. Mm-hmm. Zoom helps. You can get things done if you can't make it somewhere. So I think that opened a lot of people's eyes. And I do want to mention one thing too, and this is off script.
Absolutely, sure.
if you guys remember that during the height of COVID, I can't remember, it was the first summer in 2020, when nobody was driving anywhere on the planet. And remember the satellite images looking at Earth, how they can now see spots they never saw before?
Yep.
I thought that was amazing that if we really wanted to tackle some stuff, we can get it done. It's not, I mean, obviously that was a big global thing, but we put our minds to it. We can take care of some of these things that are affecting our environment. So I like that. So I just want to throw that nugget out there. I'm like, it can be done. So I just wanted to mention things. I always thought that was amazing.
Yeah, animals were showing up in places where they had not been.
Yes.
It was beautiful. Yeah. It really was.
It won't take, if we really put our mind to it, it's not going to take decades to get the environment back under control. If we really put our mind to it, we could do it a lot quicker. So that was a good sign, I thought.
Right. Yeah. So the Fifth Ward has spaces. And is that also another thing of not developing, right? We want those green spaces. You want that healthy activity there.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of green spaces, so I don't think we need more. But we have the open land we have. So everything's about balance. So I know people were saying, well, we have a lot of storage facilities, and we have things out on Sullivan and Sequoia, and we do. So I was kind of supporting that until now. I'm kind of done with that. I think our balance of having trucking things on the far north side is kind of done. So any open land we have now, I'd like to have more consumers, because that's part of the economic thing. Again, we need to have more people spending money to get those things I had talked about before, like the higher end stuff. So there's some places out by Herget Middle School. There's a place on Prairie that's open land that I'd like to see some homes go in. We got this project going in behind the Aldi, which will be a 102-unit apartment complex, market rate, with clubhouse and swimming pool, so higher end, very nice. So we need to get more things like that. That's not really green space as much.
Sure.
We do have the native prairie areas over there, which won't be touched. But in addition to that, we'd like to fill those spots up with consumers. I think that's just better for us. That's the balance we need to go to now, more consumers. I've had realtors call me in the last couple of years saying, we need more houses, Alderman Franco. Every time a house goes up for sale on the west side, it's gone in a day. We just can't, they just go.
Right.
So that's a good problem to have. But we need to provide more so people want to come to the west side because there's available housing.
Right. When last we spoke, you mentioned you'd be working hard to get an Italian restaurant in Aurora. We've got two. We talked about Buona Italia, and then the other one, River Street and Hobbs. Let's talk about that.
So, yes.
Good food, yeah.
Good food. I mean, people said, oh, we have Italian restaurants. I said, no, we don't. We have pizza parlors that sell pasta.
Right.
So there's a difference. So I'm not familiar with what type of cuisine these are going to be outside of it being Italian, how authentic it is, but we're going in the right direction. So in addition to the Hobbs Building Italian restaurant, there's going to be a sushi place. It's the old Moor on the River will be there. And then there's going to be a French restaurant and the Italian restaurant. So the beauty of all that, bringing in restaurants, and I like the Italian stuff, but I like a cuisine that's diversified, is that even though we have River Edge Park, even though we have the Paramount, even though we have a lot of cultural stuff going down there, it would be nice when there's no events going down there. People still want to go downtown to eat because of the variety and the amount of restaurants.
Sure.
That's why restaurants like The Bunch, you go down to an area and you say, well, which one do you want to go to today? So I'm very excited about that. Now, I still want to get something on the west side. I still like the Italian restaurant out there. I know why it's kind of tough because it costs so much to build a restaurant on the west side. You got to buy the land, which is about probably $750,000. Then you got to do the infrastructure. So it's a $2.5 to $3 million project. Until we have some buildings open up that are right size to repurpose, I think that's kind of when you're going to get that, if that even happens. Because now you're talking instead of $2.5 million to $3 million, you're talking about $500,000. And so coming in and repurposing, I know there were Clara's. I was talking to Clara's Italian restaurant 5 or 6 years ago, and we brought them out here, and they did their research. It says, if one of these buildings ever became vacant that has a restaurant in it already, that's size-wise, it'd be more appealing to us. But since we've got to put $2.5 to $3 million in, it's not so much. So that's the conundrum we have out there right now. Doesn't mean we can't get it, but that's, But as we grow out there, I think they're going to come.
What's your favorite kind of pasta?
Well, it's funny because my fiance now used to own a couple Italian restaurants. So my Italian palate has been, really all over the place.
This man's eating good.
I'm a red sauce, meatball type of guy, mustacholi. I have my old grandma's recipe for that, so it's the old Sicilian recipe. The key to that, put the pork in. You got to put the pork in for flavor. That's kind of what I like. I just like the old school.
Okay, all right. I'm a fettuccine guy too. I love fettuccine. anything, man. Fettuccine Alfredo. Oh man, I'm a Red Sauce guy too. Alfredo's really took me a long time to warm up to it, but yeah, good chicken Alfredo or seafood Alfredo. I really do like it. 5 years from now, 10 years. Time is 8:45. 10 years from now, what does Aurora look like to you? The Aurora you envision?
Well, we always talk about Aurora being a diverse city, and I'm going to ask you this question. When I say that, what does that mean to you?
A diverse city means having an abundance of quality restaurants, entertainment, and a good quality of life for all of the folks. I know the Indian population is rapidly growing in Aurora, so that's what it means to me. It really means all colors represented.
Well, you're a well-educated man. And the reason I say it is because when I talk to people about diversity, they always think about ethnicity, which is wonderful for us, which I think is great. I would like us to be considered an all-American city because when we do that, it encompasses what you just mentioned, all these aspects.
Right.
There's something here for everybody, whether it be ethnicity, color, it might be churches, it might be schools, it might be high-end homes, low-end homes, variety of things to do. So I think we're a slice of America. So I think going forward, I'd like to see is that continue of that growth where people want to come here because we can, anything you want, it's here for you. So I think we just want to continue on that plan. I think on that arc, rather, I think we're there. I think we're going, but I think we want to go more. And we are. If it wasn't for COVID, we'd be a lot further along right now in some of our developments.
Right.
But, I mean, how many people have a casino? How many people have a River Edge Park? How many people have a Paramount? How many people have a Blackberry or Phillips Park? No, a lot of them don't have any of that. We have all of that. So that's why I say we got it all in the outlet mall. So we got it all going with there. So I just want to continue that to be that shining light in the western suburbs. Says you want to go someplace where you can get anything you want, go to Aurora. Right. And I think we're getting that reputation. I really do. I think it's there because, like I said, when the realtors say they can't find homes, good problem to have. We have to provide more, but we're doing something right. So I think we want to continue on that arc of providing for everybody.
I was took my mom out to birthday at Maggiano's. There were some folks out there. They were some Naperville folks, but we start, table talking, and you guys from Aurora? Oh, good things happening out there. Hey, Aurora, that's the Paramount, right? When people hear about it, well, it's good. It's really making the correct kind of name it should for itself.
It is, and probably over the last 3 or 4 years, the accolades we got nationwide.
Yeah.
One of the most engaged cities in the world, best place to raise a family, diverse, safe. People recognize that, and it doesn't happen by accident. We're doing a good job with that, but people are noticing. Aurora is a very affordable place to live too. So I think we're very attractive to a lot of people coming in. I really do. And that's a good thing because it's just like when people wanted to come to the United States many years ago, they were immigrants. Why was that? Because the United States had it going. So I think Aurora's the same way. We got it going, so they want to come here. So I think that's a feather in our cap. What's
any challenges that we have on the horizon? Anything that we need to collectively as a team and as a city here that we should all be looking?
Well, I think, crime nationwide is an uptick. The shootings are just horrendous. Like I don't even want to talk about it because it disgusts me. We haven't taken care of that. So I think we have to be careful of that. Okay. We had our Pratt shooting, but I don't think that we want to let our guard down. I think that what's happening nationwide, we really have to watch for the safety of our citizens and stuff like that. So that's a global concern, but it's certainly a concern here too. Other than that, I don't really think that there's a lot of concerns. Sure. I know we have some things that I would like, that I had planned on the west side, that are be good going for. But yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about the West Side thing. That was a more big picture city kind of thing.
Yeah, and I do want to mention too that for the West Siders, one of the exciting projects. I don't know if we're going to get into that, but one of the exciting things is that if you're familiar with the Toyota plant that's near Orchard, it's on Orchard and the Expressway between Sullivan and Expressway. Mm-hmm. They have 32 acres of frontage land there. It's like cornfield.
Right.
We have just worked with King County Department of Transportation to get a right in, right out in that area. So it's on the east side of the street. And then if you're coming north to south, they get a left turn in there. What that has done for us, because Toyota wants to sell that land, what that has done for us is made that attractive to developers to come in for commercial stuff, bars, restaurants, entertainment, kind of like a Freedom Drive type of thing.
Okay.
That could be the next big thing on the west side because we're already doing. When you want to attract people, you have to do the infrastructure first. We're going to get that done. Now we market it. It's attractive because coming right out on and off the tollway any way
Right.
you want is a plus. So once we get that going, I think that could be the next big thing out that way as far as attracting people and satisfying some of the desires from the residents on the Fifth Ward.
Right.
You know, and then it's good for the city of Aurora too. So
You're referencing Freedom Drive in Naperville.
in Naperville,
The-
absolutely.
right,
yeah,
right.
in Naperville,
Yeah.
because you're right off the expressway there.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people used to go to downtown Naperville. They're like, why would I go to that? This is right here. I just
Yeah.
get off the expressway and go. So I think this will be very similar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you build it, they will come, and you make it easy for them to get in there. It's even better. So
Yeah.
I think that's the gig for that.
Yep. Top-notch hotel over there. There's a gym. Really nice, attractive living right around. My brother doesn't live too far away from around there. Nice area over there.
Well, and once you get an anchor complex,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get an anchor store, but you get an anchor complex, then some of that there's some parcels out there that are ready to go for commercial. They'll fill in because you got the synergy going. And that's once you get that synergy, then everybody wants to fill in around it. So I think that's part of the equation also.
Time is 8:50 a.m. Real quick, boys. Gabriel, take me to a commercial real quick as I deliver a couple other pieces of news, and we'll get back to the show. Dan Barreros, good morning. Patty Kodan Smith, good morning. Ginger, good morning. BTP. You know what I like about that acronym? It stands for Brent the Producer. I've been thinking about your nickname, Gabe the Producer, but we'll see. I don't know. I like Gabriel and not Gabe. I like Gabriel. I like your whole name. Check out milestones in 2023, ladies and gentlemen. Aurora celebrates a handful of milestones this year. 10 years of First Fridays. Wow. I didn't know First Fridays had been going on for so long. So that shocked me when I heard that. Prior to First Fridays, the Aurora Art Walk was last held in the fall of 2012, and there once again became a need for an inclusive art event in the community. 55 years of the Regional Fire Museum. Did you know that? Although the collection started years earlier in 1966, the Aurora Fire Museum opened to the public in October 1968 under the leadership of Charles and Georgia Goodwin. Great stuff. 100 years of Boxcar Camp. Many of Aurora's early Mexican immigrants, like Zenobia Nila, who came to the U.S. in 1923, worked for the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad and were employed at the West Eola Reclamation Plant, also known as the Eola Scrapyard, 100 years of the Keystone Building. The historic Keystone Building on Stope Avenue is now 100 years old. Wow. The building was formerly named the Joseph George and Newhall Building, and it was added to the historic National Register of Historic Places of the National Park Service March 18th of 1980. Last but not least, 145 years of the GAR Memorial Hall. Wow. It's long served as a sanctuary and as a gathering place for men who fought side by side on the battlefields. It was a shrine to the Union dead and a place of scholarship, serving as Aurora's first free library. Great stuff. It was completed in on what is now Downer Place in 1878 for the sum of $7,184.54. Boy, how times have changed, man.
Like the Louisiana Purchase.
Yep, that's a piece of history.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic piece of history. If anybody's interested in an amazing American story, PBS has a great documentary on that. That is amazing history. Times 8:53. Did we forget anything? What did we forget?
I don't know.
What did we forget?
I don't know.
I don't think we did. So you're walking around, meeting the folks, talking to the people, and you got here this morning early, got your coffee. We appreciate that. What should people know about you, for those folks who, what's the pitch?
Well, for me, I think it's that I'm a concerned citizen. I've raised my family here. I've been involved with a number of community organizations here. I have a stake in Aurora. I have a passion for Aurora. I didn't have to live in Aurora. I chose to. I chose to raise my family here. And when you do that, you're part of it. And so I like to keep it going. I think going forward, what I want people to know is that what we need to do, what I don't think we do enough of, I don't think we mentor our young people enough to prepare them for these challenges that they might have if they're going to public service. So going forward, I want people to know that I'm going to start talking to some young people and pick their brains and let them pick my brain and say, all right, if you want to be successful as a public servant, because we're going to need good people to run in the future. There's no question about it. We always want good people to run. Then how do they get there? What do they need to know? How do we make that path easier and this profession noble again so we get the good people to run? So I think that going forward, people need to know that I'm going to be working on that, because I just think that a young person doesn't really get it yet. They don't have the wisdom. So that's our responsibility as older adults to help them with that. So I think that's going forward. I'm gonna start preparing people because we can't think about today. We got to think about tomorrow too.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. We try to let these guys know that too.
Sure.
Yeah, man. The future is yours, man.
Yes.
It's in your hands. Oh, that's what. Airport
Yeah.
flights. International flights in and out of Aurora, boy, that would be a humdinger. That'd be something.
It's a game changer.
That's something.
I've been advocating for that for my air traffic control days for a long time.
Okay.
Now, and I tell people like
Food and travel. I like talking to you.
Well, so here's the good thing about it. Here's the tough thing about Aurora Airport. If you're coming from the east
Okay.
to get to Aurora, there's no good way to get there because of O'Hare Airport, Midway Airport, and the complexity around that area to get to from east to west. You got to go really high and come back in around and come down, or you have to go real low and slow. Low, slow, though, burns a lot of gas. That's a negative for a lot of people coming to Aurora.
Okay.
So we have to figure out how to make that easier. You're coming from the west, you come right in. Boom, come right down. So
Right.
that's a little bit of a challenge, nothing that we can't get through because obviously they come in there. But having the customs there and bringing in more travel, which is more money for everybody, more gas, the whole thing is a positive. So that's going to be good. And we have a runway. I don't know if people understand this. The same length as Midway Airport. You can land 737s in Aurora.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So that's a big deal.
Did you know that? Did either of you know that?
Yeah,
No.
6,500 feet runway. So you can land some, 737 is about as big as you can go. That's why they don't see any 747s or anything landing at Midway. But that's pretty good if you can land a 737 because obviously you can land any kind of private jets there too. So it's ready to go. Now we're not going to have a lot more flights, but we're going to have more and probably more money from those flights.
Right. Because an overwhelm, we wouldn't want to. The airport in the city wouldn't want to be overwhelmed with flights.
We don't want to be the air traffic system doesn't want to be overwhelmed.
Okay.
But you're right because we don't want to be so many flights that the neighboring communities are like, all right, this is too much. Because anytime you're around an airport and it grows, there's always concerns about the environment and the noise and the whole thing like that too. So we have to continue to watch that to see how much, but more would be fine because there's not that much that goes in there now. So a little bit more is not going to hurt.
Fantastic stuff from Alderman Carl Franco, Alderman of the 5th Ward. We hope that you guys all enjoyed this conversation. We really did. We appreciate you coming back on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you
very
for
much
having
so.
me. I appreciate you guys do a wonderful job here and keep it up. And I want to come back and talk about some other stuff sometime.
Absolutely. No, we would
Sure.
really welcome that.
Yeah.
Brett, Gabriel, myself, we do believe that people need to have access to what's going on. We should all be good citizens. Take part. Part of taking part in the community is knowing what's happening, putting your ear to the ground, and dealing with the folks who are actually doing the work.
Yeah.
Time's 8:57 a.m. Well, Good Morning Aurora will return on Friday. We're looking forward to it. The election is again
April 4th, next Tuesday.
April 4th. Early voting
Now.
is right now, Vaughn Center
Vaughn
or
Center.
the downtown
Clerk's office, yeah.
clerk's office. Okay. Tune in on Friday. We've got another special episode and interview for you guys. Be blessed, be safe, be prosperous. Take care of yourself and each other.